right, welcome back to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. This is the Week 10 preview, and I'm Brad.
This is Zach.
And I'm Hefe.
All right, if you're watching this, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss an episode or miss your chance at a jersey giveaway. That's right, we are giving away a jersey to a listener. Once we reach 1,000 subscribers, we'd like you to help us do that. So if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, head on over to YouTube and help us out. We certainly appreciate the support. All right, you guys, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. How it's kind of cool that we're doing this with a hurricane in the background.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm hoping the power doesn't go out in the middle of it. That would kind of suck.
Yeah. And the second, I don't even know how to describe this. The second hurricane storm in 4 days, but it's the same hurricane.
Yeah, it's doing some crazy pattern. Kind of went out into the Gulf and then did a little loop-de-loop and then swung right back through, and it's clipping us on its way north. But
yeah, so it's crazy stuff. We went the whole hurricane season with. I don't think we even got rain from any of the hurricanes that went through. They battered the north of the side of the Gulf Coast between Houston and Pensacola. I think they had like 5 or 6 storms. We didn't even get any rain. Here we are 2 weeks out from hurricane season being over, and suddenly we get hit with the same storm twice in 4 days. You can't. This is 2020, man. You can't make this up. All right, let's talk football. First up, a huge AFC, a huge matchup on Thursday night with ramifications from the AFC playoff picture. We talked about that on Monday. If you haven't checked out our playoff review on Monday, we talked about the AFC and the NFC playoff picture. Please check those out. But Thursday's matchup is the Colts at 5-3 and the Tennessee Titans at 6-2. The Colts being 1 game out of first place in the AFC South. And as we talked about this game on Monday, we talked about that whoever wins this division is probably going on, and whoever loses is probably not going to go on in the postseason. And it could come down to this game.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a must-win game. Almost a must-win game for the Colts. They have to at least split their 2 games with Tennessee. So winning this one would be very nice for them going forward. This Colts defense is ferocious. We all know that. We should be able to hold Henry to a modest game and hopefully force Tannehill to make a few mistakes. As long as the Colts offense can push the ball down the field and the Colts actually play all 4 quarters, I think they have the upper hand in this one. Like I said, this is almost a must-win game for the Colts. So despite Tennessee being a 1.5-point favorite at home, I'm going to believe in blue here and go with the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be a pretty close game. But I was looking back at it last night, and every Colts game this year has come down to defensive scores. Obviously the Colts blew out the Jets, blew out the Vikings, but the Colts defense, every win the Colts have, the Colts defense has scored. Every Colts loss, the opposing defense has scored. So as long as we can minimize those mistakes and giving up pick sixes or fumbling the ball and letting them score touchdowns, I think the Colts have, any team has a obviously better chance at winning when you're not turning the ball over. But with the way the Colts defense is playing, and I think they're going to be able to stop Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's been shut down a couple times this year. His yards per carry isn't insane like it was last year. He has a lot of yards this year. But I think the Colts defense can stop Tennessee and win this game.
So it occurred to me while you were talking that I didn't make my prediction for this game. I wish this was the week that I forgot to put my picks in, because I'm going to have to go with Tennessee.
Oh, come on! I'm so disappointed right now.
The only thing, so the Colts defense is spectacular. There's no doubt about it, and they're going to have to win this game for them. I do think. With that said, I think this is it really is a toss up, because as you break down, first of all, with Tannehill and Henry, the Titans' offense is explosive, and but our defense should be able to counteract that. On the flip side of the ball, Rivers can be erratic. However, Rivers can be erratic when he's got pressure applied to him, and I don't know that Tennessee has figured out how to do that yet. I mean, they've made some upgrades, but I'm still not sure that they're bringing the heat that they need to completely disrupt Tannehill or Rivers. So I think honestly, I think that's the key. I think the Tennessee's offense and the Colts defense kind of wash in my opinion. And there's an argument there that the Colts may have the advantage there. I think it's going to come down to if Vrabel can figure out how to put pressure on Rivers and make him make mistakes. I think that's it. The whole game comes down to that. Unfortunately, as much as I like Rivers in this system for the way it had to work and bring this guy in who knew the system, who had the experience and everything that Rivers is and why he was brought in, he's a little more erratic than I expected him to be, and I'm nervous about it. And that's why I picked the Titans. And again, I hope I'll be the first to admit I was wrong if that's the case, because I disagree with you, Zach. I think the Colts have to win this game. I think if they don't win this game, we're going to talk about some other games. I think not only now do you have to, you've lost a tiebreaker. Not only are you two games behind, but now you've lost a tiebreaker. So you're essentially 3 games behind. And with the schedule that both these teams have coming up, but the Colts, I want to talk about the Colts schedule coming up. They have to make those 3 games with a really, really, really tough schedule. And that's going to be really, really hard to beat. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Reich. I hope they got their shit together and they come out firing and they look like the team that we expected them to be when the season started. So there's my disclaimer speech. Thanks for entertaining me. All right. Next up on the agenda is a game that could also have playoff implications for these two teams. Is the Texans at the Browns. And no, we're not talking about the Texans because nobody cares that they've only won 2 games. But the Browns, if the Browns lose this game, it potentially helps the Colts and the Titans. Whoever loses that game or loses a division, it helps their chances of getting in looking down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that same sentiment and helping the Colts or Titans remain relevant in the AFC wildcard race. I'm actually predicting Houston to go into Cleveland and come out with an upset victory. The Browns are 3.5-point favorites, but Deshaun Watson is capable of exploding any game, and I think this is a game in which he will.
Yeah, like Zach just said, I think Deshaun Watson can do what he wants when he wants, even with bad players. The offense isn't necessarily the issue; they're not explosive, but the defense there is horrible. And Nick Chubb's coming back. I think that's going to be a huge factor. They can use Kareem Hunt in different creative ways with Chubb in the lineup. And without Odell Beckham there, I expect to see, Kareem Hunt probably lining out wide here and there, lining up in the slot here and there, and kind of having a big impact from both the running backs. Maybe the tight end, Austin Hooper, should be back for this game. So I just unfortunately can't see the Browns losing this one. Okay, so you two are at odds. This is one of those games where neither one of you will be able to brag after this is over because we really don't know what to expect. I think because I think both of you are right. I mean, both of you brought elements. I mean, the Texans could come out and just light this whole place up, and the Browns could do what the Browns do, or the Browns could look like, hey, maybe we are playoff contenders, and we really don't know. I'm going to have to go with the home team just simply for odds sake and because of the Texans struggle. Which, speaking of the Texas struggle, I know a little bit about this, a little bit enough to ask. Do you guys know much about the J.J. Watt thing? Is he really looking to get out? The only thing that I've really heard about it is that obviously he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. So there was talk that he said that so that whoever the new GM is knows that either he finds some guys and builds the team over the offseason or trades them. But I just heard a couple days ago a report saying that he doesn't expect to go anywhere and this and that. And that could all be PR stuff. In my opinion, from everything that I've seen, and he was fighting with Bill O'Brien and then coming out and saying that, it seems like he wants to go somewhere before he has to retire that has a chance at winning a championship.
Well, yeah, he does. He wants to go win a championship with his brothers.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
I mean, wouldn't you think? I can see this guy sign the league minimum to go play in Pittsburgh with his brothers. He'd be a fool not to. He'd be a fool not to talk him into trading him next week with the way the Steelers are playing. So it'll be interesting. I think you're right, Hefe, with a lot of the PR, right? I mean, he makes it known, but then he comes back and says, I really don't want to leave here. So he doesn't look like the bad guy. He really puts it on the shoulders of the new GM coming in, which is their responsibility. So I'm not saying that he's a bad guy for doing that at all. That's, this is the way the game is played. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Do you think the Texans can rebuild overnight? You think they can make some adjustments and salvage what's left? I mean, they have a lot of talent. Zach, you don't think so?
Nope. I think the damage that Bill O'Brien caused is going to be way too much to overcome. I mean, all they can do is just get free agents. They don't have any draft picks, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. If you had the early draft picks, maybe you draft a game changer. But even if you offload the contracts of Randall Cobb, and I mean, you can't get rid of David Johnson because of the way his contract is structured. But then you get rid of Brandon Cooks. Even without those contracts, you can't get more offensive weapons and build the defense without any draft picks.
Yeah, that's too bad. It really is too bad that JJ's career is going to end like that. I wish him well. I hope he finds a place to play and he gets lucky. It's going to have to be someplace like Pittsburgh. He's going to have to take the league minimum, and maybe he'll be able to pull it off. And for Texans fans, for everything that we laugh and joke on this team and make fun of teams like the Texans and the Titans and the Cowboys. My heart goes out to their fans, especially being a Colts fan, and for the first 10 to 15 years, we just got our brains kicked in week after week after week after week. I know what that feels like. So for them, I hope that they get a GM in, they make this division more competitive again in the future. And with that said, I'm going with the Browns. Zach's going with the Texans, and Hefe, you're going with the Browns too, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to Washington and the Lions. I don't know what to expect out of this. I'm going to go with the Lions at home. Nobody really cares. Lions. Well, I was going to say this doesn't have playoff implications, but it does, doesn't it? The Lions are in the hunt, probably out of the picture, but in the hunt. No pun intended there. And Washington football team at 2-6 is in the hunt for the lead of their division and a playoff spot.
Yeah. So I'm really unsure about this game. I had to sit here and think about it. Washington is one of those teams that can play like the worst team in the league, or they can snap and just be dominant. Detroit is still your typical Lions team. We've all grown accustomed to know them that way. They're the 3.5-point favorite at home here. But like I said in our playoff picture episode a couple of days ago, I think Washington is going to slide in and win the NFC East. So I'm going to take them here.
Yeah, and this one really comes down to, just like a lot of the Lions games, to Kenny Galladay. If he ends up being in the lineup, he ends up being active for Sunday, I might change my pick here. But I like Alex Smith. I hope they win, and I don't think the Lions can win without Kenny Galladay. So I'm going with the Washington football team
here. Okay, you two are with Washington, and I'm going with the Lions just because it's a coin toss and they're at home. But I'll probably feel like Brian after the game's over that the Lions let me down again.
High hopes and a lot of disappointment.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Next game up is not playoff implications. It's a playoff tune-up for the Packers. The Jags go up to Green Bay. At least it's going to be semi-warm for them, so it won't be a complete, horrible trip. But there's no way the Jags beat the Packers in Green Bay.
No, the Packers are one of the best teams in the league. The Jaguars are one of the worst. I can't fathom an upset in Green Bay. They're favored by 13.5. I have them covering that spread in an easy win.
I'm going to be with you guys. I'm picking the Packers here, but for some reason this feels like the trap game of the week, and I don't know why. You have this new rookie quarterback, and DJ Chark looked like a star again last week. You can run on the Packers, and James Robinson's looked decent, so there's a chance. But I think the Packers should win. Yeah.
There's no way Aaron Rodgers is going to let some rookie come into Green Bay and show him up like that. No chance.
Yeah, I gotta go with Zach on this one. But you got to pick your upset somewhere, right? I mean, we all do. So
yeah, I mean, I'm picking the Packers, but I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, next up is a game that has serious playoff implications for the team that wins this division, we have the 3-4-1 Philadelphia Eagles at the 2-7 New York Giants. I'm easily entertained because I cracked myself up reading it that slow in that way. I still cannot believe we're having this conversation about teams that are 2-7 and 3-4-1, but here we are.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. But like I said, this is a divisional game. Anything can happen, especially with two bad teams. You never know who's going to come out with it. The Giants have been playing a lot better lately, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do go in there and they pull this one out. The Eagles are 3.5-point favorites heading to New York. I'm going to go ahead and stick with them here, and I say they cover that spread.
We've talked about the Giants defense being pretty good over the last couple of weeks. And, what the Giants offense has done over the last couple of weeks, they obviously drafted Andrew Thomas in the 2020 draft, expected him to be a big-time offensive lineman for him. A couple of weeks ago, they switched 3 offensive linemen, including the rookie. And ever since then, and Wayne Gallman took over for Devontae Freeman. That might have something to do with the run game too. But they've been, not getting explosive plays in the run game, but better in the run game. And they've been getting more explosive plays in the passing game. And Sterling Shepard came back. I'm sure that's helped the pass game. Evan Ingram is finally looking good again. So, I'm going to have to take the Giants on this one. I think they get a little closer to taking the division.
Yeah, and so I think what this game comes down to, and we're at the point now where teams are really starting to show us who they are and where they're headed, I guess is the most important thing. The way I see these two teams is I see the Eagles that should have been a pretty good team that can't figure out what has gone terribly wrong. And I see the Giants as a team that know that they're bad and they're trying to find their identity. And it appears, I don't want to jump on this coaching staff too early, but it appears the Giants are starting to figure out who they are. And if that's the case, and we look at the second half of the season and the Eagles are still, and there's a mentality difference there, right? Like we're supposed to be good, but things aren't working the way we want and you're in a panic. You're desperately trying to figure things out. And then on the flip side of the coin, yeah, we're bad. Nobody expects us to do anything this year. We're just trying to figure out what's going to work next year, where guys are going to be, how the system's going to work. We're all trying to get to know each other. And then things start to work and they're like, oh yeah. And they tweet, oh yeah. And the confidence builds and builds and builds. I'm going with New York. I think they may end up winning this division. Of course, I could say that about any of the 4 teams, including the team that we dare not speak their name. But that's the Cowboys for anybody paying attention. They get too much play. I don't want to talk about them. I'm going with the Giants. I think the Giants appear to be on the rise. Now, I don't want to overstate that. They're not going to go on a 6-game win streak and suddenly you go on a run and win the Super Bowl. That's ridiculous. But they can win this division. They can make the playoffs because of that and possibly set themselves up for next year. So, all right. Next up, Buccaneers at Panthers. Tampa going up to Carolina. This may be your upset of the week right here. Shaking your head, Zach?
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree. The Bucs were absolutely embarrassed last week against the Saints. I'm sure that lit a fire under everybody's ass, especially Tom Brady. So watch out, Carolina. Tampa's favored by 6. I think they'll hang over 30 points on the Panthers, and they're going to cover that spread.
Yeah, I thought that the Panthers had a good shot in this game until earlier on Wednesday when it was said that Christian McCaffrey is seeking second opinion on a shoulder injury and not expected to play this weekend. Could be out multiple weeks, could be out the rest of the year. And unfortunately, I just don't see a path for the Panthers to win. I think, I think they could hang in there with the Bucs, but I just think the Bucs have too much firepower and Panthers don't have enough without Christian McCaffrey.
Fair enough. I didn't give my pick at the beginning. I am picking the Buccaneers. That's why I said this could be the upset. So, okay, we all 3 picked the Buccaneers, just to be clear. Mm-hmm. Buffalo Bills at Arizona Cardinals. I'd like to think that this is where the Bills really stand up and gain their confidence. They're like, all right, we waffled a little bit. We came in and we showed our dominance last week of who we want people to think we are, who we are. I think this is another chance for them to do that, and with an NFC West team. I actually think they do it. I'm taking the Bills.
Yeah, Arizona's in one of the toughest divisions. Well, they are in the toughest division in all of football. They're a good team, but their only quality win so far is San Francisco in week 1 and Seattle in week 7 in overtime. Last week, Buffalo looked like the Bills team we know that they're capable of being. The Cardinals are favored by 2 at home. I think Buffalo wins this one.
Yeah, I think the Buffalo team that we saw last week was the same Buffalo team that we had seen to begin the year. And I've talked about it with you guys before. I just think Matt Milano being there was a big deal. Obviously, having good linebackers is a big deal. You got to be able to stop the run, but a good middle linebacker, a good quarterback of the defense is pretty crucial to defenses. And with him in there, I'm confident that they can stop any team in the league like they did last week, and I'm confident that with Zach Moss taking more of a lead back role, that they'll be able to run the ball more effectively, which will help the passing game. So I'm going to go with the Bills here.
Okay, we all three agree. We're all three taking the Bills. All right, next up, the Broncos at the Raiders. Sorry, Garrett Bowles, you're not only not as good as the Chiefs, but you're not even as good as the Raiders, despite it being an interdivision game. It is in Vegas, and the Raiders are just an overall better team, and they should win this one.
Yeah, it's another division game, but Denver has only beaten the Jets, Patriots, and Chargers. Those 3 teams have a combined record of 5-20. The Raiders have won. Yeah, I know, right?
That's some Tennessee Titans stuff right there.
The Raiders have won 3 of their last 4, including a win against the defending Super Bowl champs. They're 5.5-point favorites at home. They'll cover this one.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I don't think this one's going to be very close. I like a lot of the weapons that the Broncos have, and I think they can be effective. But there have been some injuries to that Broncos secondary over the last couple of weeks, and so it's been a little more leaky there. Pass rush hasn't really been as good the last couple of weeks. So I'm pretty confident that the Raiders can come in and stomp a hole in the Broncos.
Yeah, and it would be a detriment to the Colts and the Broncos if the Raiders do win, because they're fighting for one of those playoff spots. But we all three agree. I don't see that happening. So next up in the same boat would be the Miami Dolphins that we're just talking about with the Raiders. A win by the Dolphins would really hurt, and not just the Colts or the Titans. Whoever does not win the AFC South and the Broncos, we have the 2-6 Chargers coming in to Miami to force a formidable defense and a team that is absolutely gaining swagger and confidence every week. I don't see any way that the Chargers come in to beat the Dolphins.
No, Miami's probably the hottest team out there right now. They've won 4 straight, 3 of those against very good NFC West teams. They're 3-point favorites at home. I think they'll extend that winning streak to 5, and they're going to cover the spread in this one.
I feel like I should be really confident in the Dolphins in this one. Obviously, the Chargers let go leads late, and so the Dolphins probably will win this game. But Preston Williams just got put on the IR, and so that makes Jakeem Grant, I believe, the number 2 receiver there, and that's just such a talent drop off. Jakeem Grant has been a career returner, so it makes me less confident with what the Dolphins might be able to do. But I do believe that in the end, one way or another, even if the Chargers are winning, they're going to lose this game. So I'm going with the Dolphins.
Okay, we all three agree that the Dolphins are going to win this game. But I want to kind of go back to there's a lot of different factors that come to play. But I think the biggest one, there are 2 things. First, and I mentioned one of them. One is that the Dolphins feel invincible right now. That is hard to contend with when you're well coached and you've got some talent, and then you believe you can win, especially when you're at home. The Chargers are in a lot of trouble on that front. But on the flip side of that, Anthony Lynn has not shown me, and this isn't. I don't really want to judge the guy because I haven't studied it that closely. But from where it appears right now, he doesn't appear to me that he has complete control of what's going on in Los Angeles. And I can tell you one thing, Brian Flores does. He has complete control of that locker room. He's got their undivided attention, their undivided loyalty, and they are going to come out and smash the shit out of the Chargers. And that's the way I see it.
I agree.
All right, let's move on. Bengals at Steelers. I know one of you agrees with me. This could be the trap game of the week right here. Yeah, So first, I'm going to make a prediction. We're all three going to take the Steelers. We'd be stupid not to. But make no mistake about it. It's an interdivision game. Joe Burrow has proven he belongs in this league. And the more you play a team, the harder it is to beat them. And this is a game that the Bengals could sneak up and take. And the more you win, the harder it is to keep winning. There's a lot. I think there's a lot in the Bengals' favor in this game, though I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Cincinnati is a very dangerous team. They've been competitive in every single game this season, with the exception of the Ravens game in Week 5. And this is a divisional game, but because they are in Pittsburgh, I'm taking the Steelers here to cover the 8-point spread.
Now, I know Brad said that we'd be foolish not to take the Steelers here, but I'm just not going to do it.
Wow. Woo!
It's that time, we've talked about before. With every week that goes by, there's more and more of a chance you're not undefeated the next week. And this Bengals team is sneaking up on people. They had a tie to start the year when everybody thought they were going to be the worst team in the league. They've won a couple games. I think this is going to be a game where, the Cowboys showed that the Steelers can be vulnerable. The Cowboys hadn't done anything. Garrett Gilbert kind of came out and showed that defense can be vulnerable. There's just a way around it that you gotta get the ball out of your hand quicker, right? You gotta have the playmakers, and I think they have the playmakers. Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins have been great this year. Giovanni Bernard, pass catching running back. Joe Mixon might be back this week. So I think that the Bengals have what it takes. It's not my most confident pick of the year by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that this is going to be an upset win.
All right. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. I think as far as upsets go, I mean, we just talked about it. I want to beat it to death, but as far as upsets go, this is a pretty good game to pick an upset, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. So Zach and I are taking the Steelers somewhat reluctantly because we're afraid this could be the upset game of the week. And Hefe is laying it all out there and taking the Bengals. So I guess we will bow down to you next week if you're right, Hefe. Call you the guru. Oh, yeah, we already do. All right. Next up, Seahawks and Rams. This is in LA. So Seahawks have a slight advantage. They've shown some weakness and some vulnerability. It looks like teams are figuring out how to beat them. They're the better of the two teams, in my opinion, though I think the Rams are certainly capable of beating just about anybody whenever that particular team decides to show up. And we're in LA. So to me, this is a 50-50 game. And because of that, I'm going to have to go with the home team.
Yeah, this is a huge game in the Nfc West. If the Seahawks win it, they'll be up 2 games on the Rams. If Los Angeles wins, they're going to end up taking the division lead. This is projected to be the second highest scoring game of the week with an over-under set at 55.5. The biggest difference for me is that the Seahawks don't have a run game. Chris Carson is currently listed as questionable. Meanwhile, the Rams boast the best passing defense in the league, number 2 in passing yards, number 1 in passing touchdowns given up. Los Angeles is favored only by a point at home. I have them winning this one and taking the lead in the NFC West.
Ooh, that's a bold pick. And it's not a bad pick. I just think that the Seahawks offense has been more consistent this year. Russ has thrown the interceptions, but like I mentioned on the Tuesday show, he's throwing a lot too. So that was bound to catch up with him. But I think this is going to be a good battle. I don't think this is going to be a blowout one way or the other. I think this is going to be possibly the game of the week. And I just, with the inconsistencies of the Rams, I know they're coming off a bye, and so they should perform well. I think MVP Russ is going to look more like MVP Russ this week.
All right, so you're taking the Seahawks. Zach and I are taking the Rams. It's entertaining to watch this division beat the hell out of each other, but on the flip side of that, it's terrible that we've got another division that none of them teams can even beat themselves. And these teams are fighting so hard for a playoff spot when the other team. Anyway, so we'll see what happens. All right, let's move on to another NFC West team all 4 teams are fighting for the top spot. 49ers are kind of lagging behind. They've got some injuries. They go into New Orleans this week for also a big game. We didn't talk about this with the Bucks, but the Bucks and New Orleans are fighting for the top spot in the NFC, or for the NFC South rather. And this is kind of a must win for the 49ers, but I don't see it happen. I have to take New Orleans in this game.
No, New Orleans looked amazing last week. Michael Thomas is back and their defense is balling out. They're currently in the 1 seed in the NFC. I don't think an injury-ridden 49ers team can compete in this one. The Saints are favored by 9.5 points. I have them winning by at least 2 touchdowns.
Oh, wow. So you're taking that spread. I would take the under there. I would take the 49ers on that one. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. The 49ers are too well coached to really get blown out, which is kind of contradictory because of what the Packers did. I understand. But I think this is going to be – I just think this is going to be a closer game. After a rough game, I think they're getting some of the receivers back, right? Kendrick Bourne got put back on the COVID reserve list. But they're getting some of their weapons back, and so I think that's going to be a factor. I know they don't have Kittle, and I don't believe they'll have Mostert yet, but I just don't. I think the Saints are going to win. I know I'm talking about the Niners. I think the Saints are going to win. I just don't think it's going to be a blowout. If you're talking about betting, I would take the Niners there, but taking the Saints outright.
All right, so all three of us agree in the grander scheme of things, the Saints are going to win this game against San Francisco. All right, next up, Baltimore Ravens, who are chasing the Pittsburgh Steelers for the top spot in the AFC North, but should be a pretty easy lock to get into a wild card spot if they don't win their division. They're going into New England. It's always dangerous going into New England, but it's not what it used to be, right? We all know that. The Ravens should find their offensive identity any day, any week. They should break out. They may not. I would have expected it by now, but this is the time you really want your team to peak and kind of unleash. But regardless of whether they do that this week or not, I think they come out on top against the Patriots.
Yeah, although Baltimore has seemed to struggle all season long so far, they're still 6-2, and New England is just a bad football team. It feels great saying that, by the way. But the Ravens are 7.5-point favorites heading into Foxborough. I have them winning this one easily.
Yeah, I feel like this should be an easy win, and I do think the Ravens are going to win, but I'm looking at an ESPN notification. Lamar Jackson on Wednesday was quoted as saying that teams are like they know what plays they're running. They're calling out the plays on the field. So they're going to have to mix something up. If other teams are seeing it, Bill Belichick's going to see it. So they're going to have to
Bill Belichick has already seen it in all the spy film he got over the previous 8 weeks.
Very good point. Very good point.
Solid point. Yeah, probably right. But it could be an issue this week. They're going to obviously hasn't mattered a whole lot. They've only lost 2 games this year. But like I said, I think the Ravens are going to win, but might be closer than we expect.
Yeah. I was going to tell another Beelzebub joke that maybe this is the first team he hasn't spied on in a long time, because everybody else has the information. He got it from his buddies, but let's not beat a dead horse. All right, we're all three taking the Ravens, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Cincinnati Steelers game, and the Ravens game. And the Patriots game that'll be fun to watch because there are playoff implications in the division. Next up is Minnesota Vikings and Chicago Bears, and also potential playoff implications, though I think both of these teams may be on the outside looking in before this is all over. We talked about that on Monday. I'm going with the Vikings. They're in Soldier Field. I don't care. The Vikings have the potential to beat this team. The Bears have a nasty defense, but they can't. They're struggling to put points on the board. The only difference is Foles could get hot. He could light the place up. But overall, I just keep having faith that the Vikings are going to come through with the talent they have on the roster and some of the things that I think they're capable of in the Center Division game. I'm giving them the win.
Yeah, I feel the same way. The Bears are on a 3-game skid. I think their reign of being a playoff contender is about over. Meanwhile, the Vikings have continued to improve. They've won their last 2, including a win in Green Bay. Minnesota is favored by 3 heading into Chicago, so I'm going to roll with them here and take the Vikings in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that same sentiment. You have one team that's rolling right now and playing better, which is kind of weird. They got rid of Ngakoue and started playing better. That's kind of a funny situation. But the Bears are just bad right now. And Nick Foles, I don't think if Mitchell Trubisky was completely healthy, Nick Foles probably wouldn't be playing this game because he has been exceptionally bad, and it's just kind of wild. But because of that, I got to take the Vikings. I have them winning this game 23-19.
Okay, we're all three taking the Vikings. And Nick Foles is a weird cat, man, because he could have 4 or 5 of the worst games he's had in his entire career and suddenly come out and throw for 400 yards out of nowhere. He is really, really schizophrenic in that kind of thing. But I don't see that happening this weekend. Okay. All right. That does it for this week. We want to remind you to please be sure to show us some love, like, share, and subscribe. Help us get the word out by please telling all your friends. You never know who really wants to hear and learn something about football. So help us reach 1,000 YouTube subscribers, and you will have a chance at winning an authentic NFL jersey from the NFL shop on us. If you're watching this, please hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss an episode. If you are listening on your favorite podcast platform, please head on over to YouTube when you get the chance and help us out. We certainly appreciate the support. It's not too late to go head-to-head against us in a weekly pick-'em battle. For example, I forgot to put my picks in last week. It's certainly okay. You can jump in and play against us week to week. We'd love to have you. Hop on our Facebook, Twitter page at Horsemen Sports, where you can find the link to join for free. Join the Pigskin Pick'em League and win a prize, and maybe get on air with us and represent your team. So for all you fantasy fanatics, if you haven't already, be sure to check out our latest episode of Fantasy Central, released just last night, where the Oracle and the Guru cover the top waiver wire picks, must-starts, and players to avoid this coming week. And of course, we will see you back here again on Tuesday, where we will review the games from the weekend. And just a side note, if you haven't checked this out in a while, on the recap from the games from the weekend, we're now doing it in a playoff format. We're talking predominantly about the playoff teams and what the playoff picture looks like and how it's going to be changing over the week leading up to the end of the season. You certainly won't want to miss that. So until then, thanks again for joining us, and enjoy the games.